Good afternoon, everyone. It's a little unusual meeting for a webinar in the afternoon because usually on Friday forums, I have them in the morning. But this is not a Friday forum. It's a special webinar that I'm hosting with my friend and colleague. I was going to call you my geeky colleague, but that's okay. Appropriate. My name is Cyndy McDonald. For those of you who may not know, I am a certified educational planner. I've been doing college counseling for over 30 years plus some, and I just have a passion for higher education, for professional development, and for helping us to stay informed, both in terms of education and academics, but also on business. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I want to welcome Katie Andersen. Katie, so glad to have you there. You are my comrade in arms. And we're going to talk about business and your experience. You have knowledge and expertise as a business owner and also some training in that, right?
Absolutely.
So we're going to be joined. Leanne Crane is here too, and she is going to help you in the chat, and she's going to be monitoring your questions. So as we do in my other webinars, go ahead and put in the chat just where you're from. That way everybody knows who's here and gives you a chance to get to know everybody. So please go ahead. I expect we're going to have a number of people joining us. It's turned out to be quite a popular topic. I had over 200 people sign up. And if they're I'm wondering if people are having problems. Zoom changed my settings, so I'm going to have to make sure. Are people being able to put things into the Zoom? I'm seeing things go in the question. Oh, chat is disabled. I don't know why Zoom does that. All right, so let me change this. And let's see. I think I have to go into settings. All right, well, let's see.
Maybe just use the Q&A.
Yeah, let's go ahead and use Q&A because then we'll that'll work. Yeah, Nikki says Zoom has been having chat issues for a couple of days. So thank you, Nikki. I appreciate that. So we're going to talk about technology and how do you adopt technology. And this is more than just, it can be calendaring system, it can be a CRM, it can be any kind of thing. So we're going to teach you some of the principles that go with this, answer some questions, and give you some follow-up session or opportunities. So Katie, we've got a PowerPoint, so let's go ahead and get this started. What would you like to add in terms of what we're going to cover today? All right, let's see. All right, and I'm going to use this. I hope everybody is doing well. And now we'll share my screen. All right, so everybody should be seeing my screen right now. I
can see that. You're good.
Can you see it? Okay. Yep. And I'm going to change it just slightly here. All right. Okay. So today we want to talk about, and this is being recorded so that you can have a chance to come back and view this and look at information as well. So we wanted to go over some different tips for adopting technology. We want to make this easier and a little more structured so it can save you time. So that's kind of our goal for today. And let's see if, there we go. Get the the mouths working here. As a little bit of an introduction, many of you know I've been started several different businesses, so I consider myself a female entrepreneur, and I hope many of you consider yourselves as entrepreneurs as well. As I mentioned, I've been doing college counseling for over 30 years. I helped start the Higher Education Consultants Association because I found a need, and that's a lot of where we find ourselves in this industry and in society, is looking around and seeing a need for students, parents, our community, and creating opportunities or ways to fill those needs. I teach in the UCLA College Counseling Certificate Program. Many of you have been in my classes, and I appreciate that. And I've also served in many leadership roles through several professional organizations. And just recently, in the last year, started offering business, professional, and technical coaching. So I have a lot of experience. I was a founder of Guided Path, which originally was my CCA. And so I've expanded into lots of different systems over the years. And also, I want everyone to know that now in my role as a consultant, I am what you call product agnostic. So my whole goal is to help you find the tool that works best for you. And so I think everybody should use some kind of tool, some kind of software in many different areas. And finding those tools to work together and making those decisions is what I'm interested in doing. So I'm full disclosure, I'm going to be an affiliate consultant with several different programs: College Planner Pro, 360 Planner, College Age Pro, and Counsel More, and probably others as we move forward. So that's about me. Katie, how about for you?
Okay. So I was a former athlete in college. I played soccer at Duke University, and my degree is actually in sociology and markets management studies. I ended up getting into the software world very early on. It was kind of my first job out of college, and I really learned that I loved software. That kind of propelled me into a world where I ended up working in marketing and project management for both business to business and business to consumer software companies and web design agencies, both in Southern California as well as in the Netherlands and in Norway. I got my college counseling certificate in 2012. And it was kind of funny how I got into that. A friend of mine who was doing athletic recruiting at the time suggested, if you want to get into this space, do the college counseling certificate. And when I did that, I combined it with my interest in athletic recruiting. So when I started my company, College Fit, in 2013, I really launched it as athletic recruiting combined with college counseling, which for me gives me a pretty unique space. I'm seeing many, many more college counselors now that do both, which is awesome. I'm super excited. But I've been an early adopter of many different software programs, and Cyndy knows the minute I started using Guided Path, I contacted her and her team, and really trying to, because many of these systems don't always deal with athletic information the way I need to see it. So I'm always advocating for that piece, right? I started the Student Athlete Advisors together with David Steckel in 2015. And unfortunately, when David passed away, that sort of launched me into a whole nother space that I've been working in, which is really partnering together with college counselors so that I can do the athletic piece, which is what most people don't want to do. And IECs out there can do the part where you're doing just academic, college counseling. I'm a member of both IECA and PECA, and I initially started with College Planner Pro back in 2013, and then decided to switch over to Guided Path. And I was also a member of the beta test team for My Learning when that was being in that initial small group beta test phase. So, and right now I'm still as far as I'm concerned, I'm still in this sort of beta test mode where I'm trying things out, and I'm really trying to figure out what I need to continue my business moving forward.
And I think that's a really important aspect, Katie, and all of us should think about that. And when you're looking at your business and whether you need to scale it or grow it or consolidate it, what are your needs? It's never a one and done, right? You never have everything set and then it's never going to change. It's always evolving. Technology improves, internet, all these different things change. And so we need to be agile, which is a programming or a development, a web development term, but we, in terms of our own personal approach and things, need to be agile too. So that's one of the things that we want. And I think I've got the chat fixed. So if you guys want to try and do the chat, give it a try and let's see if it's working. So, all right, let's see. Okay, there's Barb. Okay, so now you can put your name and where you're from. And I expect we have people from a lot of different directions. So today, what we're going to talk about is what to consider when moving to a technology platform. I'm going to launch a poll so that you can get a sense of where other people are. Sometimes it's nice to know we're not alone, that there are other people that are grappling with the same questions and frustrations and excitement that we are. So we're going to run a poll. Then I've got some tips from power users. I've recorded some user stories. And we're not going to go through those today, but I'll tell you where to find them. They are all published and will be available to you. And then, and that goes along with the user stories for several different platforms. And I'm in the process of recording more, so they're not done yet. And as usual, put questions in the Q&A box. And any questions you have about a particular platform, we're going to forward to the providers for that. And in fact, I know we have almost all the providers have representatives on the call today. So if you're a representative from one of the different software platforms, go ahead and put your name and email in the chat. I'll probably have you do it a couple of times so that people can see that you're here and that they can reach out to you if they have questions. But we will collect any particular questions. Our purpose today is not to focus on a particular product or software. Our purpose today is to help you create a process and an approach that will save you time and help you make informed decisions. So that's what our goal is today. So let me go ahead and launch this poll and let's see what people's thoughts are. So you're going to see this on the screen. There's about 5 questions. So answer them. Don't give them a lot of thought. Just answer them as best you can, as quickly as you can. Okay. So you should see this on your screen. I just hit launch. And you can answer one question after another. So let's see. So Katie, while people are looking at that, you've been involved in different organizations. What is the size of different organizations that you've been involved with?
Are you are referring to previous companies I've worked for and things like that, or
both?
Right.
Both as a previous companies, and then now when you launched out as an IC, because you did the work with Dave, and you've been independent, and now you're working with other people. So
right. So yes, when I first got started, of course, I was all by myself, and I still maintain my business where I am just working alone. But then I when I worked together with Dave, we sort of partnered mostly on the training of college counselors regarding specifically student athletes, how to counsel student athletes. And that was a really wonderful partnership. Dave didn't do any academic advising, and I was just, can kind of add that piece to his knowledge set. And, he did not love technology.
No, he did not.
A technology lover. So I helped supply some of that focus as well. And then when Dave passed away, I sent a message out to the networks, the ICA and HECA networks, to say, hey, if anybody wants help with this athletic recruiting piece, I'd be happy to partner with you so that you can maintain your business and I can just help with this one part, and we'll work together, and it'll, be as seamless as it can be, because, it's not that easy for families when they hear, oh, you mean I have to work with 2 counselors? But I hope that over the time that I've been doing this, it's been about 1.5 years now, that it's worked out well. Counselors can say, I have somebody, right? If that's not an area that they specialize in, they can say, I partner with someone. Don't worry about it. I've got that handled. So that has led to, oh gosh, I'm guessing at least 50, maybe 75 counselors across the globe, mostly in the US, but across the globe that I have partnered with. And, it's always a work in progress. This is one thing where I am having, because it's grown so substantially, so quickly, I've really had to rethink the way I work. And this is one area, well, you're going to hear me talk about today, some of the ways in which I've had to almost separate my tools. I'm actually using another tool now that is totally outside of the world of college counseling, but just so I have a CRM system strictly allowing me to track information. So, so I've had to, that growth path has really stretched me as a business owner. And so, like I said, I'm still working on it.
Well, and I think that people are going to find that this is a recurring theme. And the other thing that I heard you say too is that it's not just one system. Oftentimes we have to bring several different kinds of systems. And I know from a technology perspective, if you're trying to cover everything, sometimes it's like, like you talk about, you cover things so wide, you're not deep, and you may not be good at anything because you're trying to be everything to everyone. So sometimes I'd rather have separate systems with that focus and that depth than have something that tries to cover everything. But it is nice to have the opportunity to have integrations or have things talk to each other or use things called APIs. One thing I didn't put on this, but I know a lot of people use, are called Zapier, and you can actually set up these connections called Zaps and connect different systems to each other. So those are some of the things that are available. So let's look at, I'm going to give everybody just a few more seconds to, we've got 64% of the people, not everybody may be able to answer questions, but I want to make sure I give everybody, we're getting down to the last question. And if you'll notice in our chat, we've got Marcia from Brazil, we've got people from all over the country, we've got James from China, so LA, Shanghai, Massachusetts, New York, Florida, everywhere. So I'm just so glad to have everybody. All right, let's go ahead and close the chat. I'm going to end the poll, and then I'll share the results with everybody so you can get a sense of kind of where we're at. And if there's a question I didn't ask in the poll, please feel free to put it in the Q&A, and we can do some follow-up surveys too. I have a feeling this is a topic that is on top of mind with everybody. So let me go ahead and share the results. Okay, are you seeing this, Katie?
Yes.
The results. All right. So for organization, people who are here today, it looks like majority are independent educational consultants from small one-person organizations, but we also have a much more growing, and I'm seeing this in over the years, how our industry and our profession is growing, so that we do have larger organizations with multiple people. So we've got, basically 75% to 24%. And then we have a number of people who fall under the other category. So if you're in the chat and you're in that other category, tell us what that other category is so that people can see a little bit and cover that. All right, so the second question is, so based on who you are and what your responsibilities are you looking to add more software or technology to your organization? So it looks like a good percent of yes now, or yes in the future. When we add that up, that's pretty much 50%. And only 9% said no, not at this time. And a lot of people are like, I don't know. Do I need to? Do I not? You tell me. So that does give us an indication of you're not alone. You're not alone. And if you are in that situation where you got it, I am thumbs up to you. I think that's a lot of hard work and a lot of conscientious determination in that. So I applaud you for that. And let's go to question number 4. What types of software do you currently use in your organization? And I'm sure I didn't cover everything, but these are just kind of the top of mind. Email, 91%. We all use email. So having an email that's easy to use, wherever it comes from, through a system or just through a straight email, is an important. Calendar system, customer management relation, that's 15%. 82% of people here use a college planning software. When we first started, when I went and started talking to people, this was in 2005, guys, and said, we can do this using an online tool. And first, when we first started, it wasn't even online. It was little CDs. Did you get a CD? Katie, I don't remember if you did.
No, that was before I got into it.
We used to print and send these CDs out to everybody all over the country and all over the world. But I knew as soon as we could, we went online. But there was no online college planning software at that time. And now 82%. So it's a concept that we've nurtured and developed, and here we are in our profession. I'm so excited and so proud of that. Design software. When I've done sessions, Canva, Photoshop, other kinds of things, more and more communication, visual is such a part of what we do. Social media, that becomes a big part of it. Document, contract, we're not, especially with COVID, we're not having people send in front of us and sign documents. You've got to get documents, especially contracts, where you can get those signatures. So there's a lot of discussion on that. File organizers, 71%. Marketing software, Asuna or something similar. So that would be a great topic to just focus on for a webinar at some point to have. So if you're a Asuna expert or expert in this area, please put it in the Q&A and let me know, because maybe I'll contact you. And then meeting software, 85% of us are using something like Zoom or Google Meet or GoToMeeting or something to be able to. And especially we were all forced to that with COVID, but many people I know, especially if you're working with international students or you're working with students in a very diverse geographical area, you can never meet with your students in person. So I think it's really helped us reframe what we're able to do. And it looks like we've got some others as well. So other softwares, let's see what some of those might be. And here's other organizations, CBOs, that's great. Guided Path, lots of different types of, Loper, I've heard of that. QuickBooks, good. So again, Loper, I think, put in the chat, I think it's, I don't know what Loper is. Do you know what Loper is, Katie?
No.
Oh, somebody's going to have to tell us. I got introduced to Loom this week, and that's another one I'm going to look at. And when you do recordings and videos. So there's so many exciting things. What college planning software do you use? We've got some with 360 Planner, a good percentage with College Planner Pro, College Age Pro, which is a brand new software. And I'm so excited about what they do and what they have to offer. You'll be hearing more about that. Counsel More, College Kickstart, Guided Path, Maya Learning. So that's a percentage, a high percentage. So glad to see all these different tools and resources represented. And then it looks like we've got some others too. Here's where we're going today. We've got all these things, all these technologies, but what drives your decision? What makes you, pull that trigger in terms of deciding what software to adopt. And again, it can apply to any kind of software. It can be software to monitor your activity level, a health app or something. I mean, this just applies to all technology. Cost is high. Ease of use, 79%. Customer support is huge, 47%. Features, what can I do with it? That's 74%. Integrations is 35%. The reputation of the company, it looks like that is not as high on people's lists. And then there are other things that you take into consideration. So all of those things that go into, what influences us as we look at our technology. So Katie, what are your thoughts in terms of seeing this and these results?
I think this is probably what I would have expected to see. We're all looking to, especially with, my husband keeps reminding me, remember, our grocery costs have gone up. That the cost of everything that the various software tools, which I think we've all invested in more in the last couple of years, as I certainly have, I'm using much more than I ever did before. But also that ease of use and the features are important. And you'll see in the presentation today how much the integration of this is really core to me and my business. I'm still doing a lot of things outside of my systems. And if I could have them a little more integrated, I'd be a happy camper.
Well, and that's why it drives, always looking and exploring and what's available. And I want to thank everybody, Jamie and everybody, for sharing what Loper is. It's an app for college fit, college research. And it's like Tinder for colleges. So you'll see that in the chat. So yeah, there are always new things coming up and opportunities to try and have different approaches to things. So, all right. So now, Katie, you've talked about this a little bit. What are some of the things that you, and I think, that's right. So here's a list of some of the different applications that you use. You want to talk about some of these?
Yeah, so I've got, I have over the years, I think I started with Google products more by accident, but realized very quickly how important it was when you're working with high school students, many of who are using Google, Drive, Google, whatever on the backside, that having a Gmail account is critical. If you don't have one, you might consider it. I use Google Drive and Google products for everything, my calendar, my cloud storage, my email. I am currently using online, You Can Book Me. I think that's probably because of you, Cyndy.
It probably is.
But I'm kind of realizing that from an integration standpoint, Calendly might be a slightly easier integration. So I haven't switched over yet, mostly because I just haven't had the time to look at it. But that is definitely on my mind in terms of when I have a chance to kind of revamp a lot of things. That is definitely something I will be considering. Virtual meetings, I kind of stuck with Zoom. It seems to be the one, one of the platforms that's easiest. But if you're a Microsoft user, then Teams would be a good choice. Accounting wise, again, I was using, I went to Costco and I bought QuickBooks, but I quickly transitioned to QuickBooks Online because it made my life so much easier, and it's attached to my mobile phone, and it's just, great. And then that actually, if you haven't ever used it before, QuickBooks Online has a mileage tracking. And, I don't know if anybody's even driving anymore to go see their clients. I used to, I don't do that anymore. So I haven't even had to use it in a while, but it does have it. And in the case that you're driving to go on college visits or whatever, it has this GPS, tracking mechanism in it. So it just automatically tracks your mileage and puts it into your accounting, which is great. My website, I use Wix.com as my website tool. My social media, I'm using Facebook and Instagram as well as LinkedIn. And now with Facebook and Instagram coming together and becoming Meta, that's opened up an interesting thing. And as well, Canva, I'll just say, Canva is a tool that I use all the time and now has some interesting features in it that help to link with all the social media piece. And then for college counseling software, like I mentioned, I am currently using the new My Learning platform. And I wanted to also mention that for list building, I often will use Counsel More. They have I'm in their list builder. They have various options there. So I use their list builder to help supplement oftentimes. But at this point, I'm in this place in my business where I've got to kind of keep reevaluating. So that's why I put question marks, because I'm somewhat open to making changes, probably not in this immediate moment, but certainly in the next, say, 6 months.
Right. Well, and that brings up another good point too, is that oftentimes we'll use more than one system, even though they have the same purpose or the same market, covering the same concept, but different systems, you do things differently. So, just as you use Counsel More and Guide Path, I know many people have used multiple systems together to create, and it goes back to what is your must-have, what is the things that you need to have to make your system work. So here's a list of my business applications as an IEC. Gmail, I agree. Don't have an AOL account. Don't have a Yahoo account. If you do, you need to switch it over. So I still have a lot of parents who have those, but for us as professionals, having a Gmail can make, because students are most of them have them at school. So Google Calendar, Google Drive, Slack, Google, you can book me, Zoom. I use QuickBooks Online as well. One thing I would add to that, and this is another thing, if you have professionals, I'm a big advocate for outsourcing things that you don't want to have to spend time on, like bookkeeping. My bookkeeper has a deal with QuickBooks. So she gives me that deal. I actually spend less by going through her than if I just subscribed online by myself. So if you have a professional bookkeeper or accountant that's helping you with your bookkeeping, check with them and see if they have a system that they can offer. And it's great, because then if I have a problem, instead of calling QuickBooks, I just call my bookkeeper and say, here's my question. And she looks it up, and it's great. Contracts, other job forms, I'm going to be looking into Adobe and PandaDocs as well. The QuickBooks Online tracking, mileage tracking. I use Short Story Marketing, which is, I think it's an Adobe or Apple-based website, and they help me. Bill Scholler and Kim Green are just excellent. They do a lot to help you, support you. I can just send them a question or an email and say, I need this, and they always get right back to me. YouTube is my biggest social media channel. I put all my Friday forums and all my webinars on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and I'm still exploring too what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do things. And so that's why I was prompted to do this, because I'm right here. And many of you hear me say this a lot of times, where you're at is where I'm at, because I'm a consultant just like you. So those are some examples of different applications of stuff that we have. Now, I want to give you some tips for adopting or changing your technology tools. This is just a summary here, but I have a much more in-depth tool that I'm going to offer to you. And I'm going to show it to you so you can see what I've done and how I put together some information. But to summarize, I want to tell you, first of all, and you've already heard me talk about this, is identify your needs. You don't just go out and say, I'm going to buy a car. I'm going to go buy a house, or I'm going to go, buy a TV. You identify what your needs are, and that needs to be the first place that you start. And we all want the moon. We want everything. We want it to, it's like when our kids go to search for colleges, you're never going to find the perfect college that has everything just the way you want it. And like searching for a house, you're never going to find that perfect house that has everything just what you want. So you have to prioritize and look at what your priorities are, and then explore the market, what's available, what's out there, how accessible is it? And then vet the providers, explore, talk to them, do demonstrations, do a free trial, and that's what's going to help you. But if you start with step number 4, you're already behind. If you just start setting up and doing demos and setting up new accounts without identifying your needs and prioritizing, then you're actually making more work for yourself. So those are the things that I want to communicate: is do the foundation, do the legwork first. When you do your prioritization, find what does it absolutely have to have? What are the deal breakers? If it doesn't have this, then I can't use it. Identify what those are, because then you're going to communicate that to all the different platforms and programs that you're looking at. And then identify the nice to have. And when I do this with college counseling with my students, it's like, here's the things that'll, make it an additionally nice college. It kind of puts it over the edge. It is something that is an added benefit. So identify what those nice to have. And there are certain things that different programs and platforms, like, using calendar item, a calendar platform, for example, that they might have that you would be nice to have. But separate your must-haves from your nice to have. And then there are going to be themes, there are going to be features, and over 80% of your decision drivers is made up on features. But there are going to be features you don't care about, things you won't use or that just don't really apply to you. And so make a list of that, and then you can communicate that as well to your team, find out from your students, but what you don't care. And then overall, this helps you to be able, as you're going through this process, think about scalability. Do you want to grow your practice? We just did Scaling Your Practice webinar and a Friday forum in June, and you can go back to that video and watch that. Not everybody wants to grow. Chris Bell talked about how he wants to stay as a person, a business of one, and there's a lot to be said for that. So think about scalability. Do you want to grow or do you not? Here are the drivers for my decision making. In the past, I have had up to 55 seniors per year. I had a team of up to 3 people who were working together. Currently, I'm keeping my numbers smaller. I have up to 10 seniors per year. I do have an essay coach, but I'm a team of 1. I use technology extensively. Like Katie, I want it to do the work for me. I don't want to spend all my time doing all this stuff. So if technology can do it, I'm going to find it and I'm going to try and use it. I like to have systems that talk to each other for the same reasons. It must be easy to use, and I must be able to afford it. So those are some of the drivers for my decision making. Katie, how about for you?
Okay. So right now I have about 10 clients per class, and that's just for my comprehensive, where I do both athletic recruiting as well as applications and essays. I have about 45 clients. It's kind of give or take. It's actually grown actually, I'm sure I have more than that at this point, on the only where I'm doing athletic recruiting. But for me, that's a space where I spend a lot less time, so I can take on more of those clients, and I have kind of short bursts of meeting with them. So I feel like that's an area where I'm trying to grow my business. I am a one-woman show like Cyndy, and I'm doing everything: sales, marketing, consulting, accounting. And Cyndy has consulted me multiple times about areas like having a bookkeeper, where, I think I've grown to a place now where probably paying for a bookkeeper would be a smart move. I just haven't bit the bullet on that one yet. Like I've mentioned, I co-counsel with other IECs, and for my student athlete clients. Right now, I have a mix of kids. I have about 25% of my kids are just regular students, and about 75% of them are student athletes. I try as much as I can to eliminate paper in my life, and I do everything electronically whenever possible. And it's really, really critical to me that my systems they connect, that they support, that I don't have, right now I'm battling some issues where my Zapier app is just not behaving the way that it should. So I need to do some work to make sure that my systems are efficient, because when they are efficient and I've got that sort of honed in, I can spend my time on the things that make me money and make, that make sure that I'm doing things in the right order. I really do like to keep my costs under control. But I do also believe that it's critical for me to have a robust college planning software, and a CRM system for me is mission critical. I have one of the systems that I've implemented, which has nothing to do with college counseling, is a software product called Insightly. And it's a pretty generic CRM system, but I've had to really work hard to get it customized to what I need to do with athletic recruiting. And I'll show you some examples. I mean, I'm not going to show you the screen, but I will talk through how it helps me manage my business, and how my processes might be a little different than yours, but I think it's something to think about.
I think that's a good point. And having that understanding and just hearing how somebody else is approaching it is often very helpful, when you're trying to tackle that concept. I want to go back to something you said, Katie, and this is another thing that I really try to push for us as professionals, as educators, as business people, or, in an organization, is don't spend your time doing the things you're good at, and try and maximize that time. And if it's easier and faster, yes, you can make that Canva, or yes, you can create that email or send that bulk email out, or whatever it is. But you're better off spending the time where you're going to make money, which is with clients. So the more you can outsource, use technology, find ways to maximize your use of time with students and clients, is going to help you build and grow your business. And it's going to lead to more work-life balance too. So those are some things.
Wait, what did you just say? Work-life balance? I don't know that term.
Repeat after me 3 times.
Learn how to say no.
Well, and that's very true. And as we're in August, we're all approaching the busiest time we all experience. It may seem like an oxymoron to have work-life balance while we're in the application season and things, but I believe that we can have that work-life balance. And those of you who've heard me have Jamie Dickinson on my show, and she does a boot camp for IECs and stuff. She's a firm believer in that, and she's a very strong advocate for that too. So how are you going to do this? This is what your business journey is all about. You're building a brand. And it's so much more personal than it ever used to be, as social media and all these things. It really is all about you. And so that building that authentic brand, and Katie's going to talk about that. It was interesting. I have to tell you, I just came back from the Montana counselor tour last weekend, and I happened to sit next to a professor at Washington State, and he is the dean of graduate school, and he researches brand communication, and he does it all from looking at our physiological responses to communications. It was fascinating to look and listen to him. So his name is Paul Bowles, and he talked to me about neuromarketing. I had no idea that there was such a thing as neuromarketing. And I hope to bring him on to my Friday forum sometime and talk about it. But his message and speaking with him, learning about building your authentic brand is true and very tangible in this day and age. Prospect management. I've divided we talk about your journey. Our journey as consultants, as entrepreneurs, has 3 different parts. Your prospect journey or prospect management, your client's journey or client management, and then your journey as a consultant. And so the counseling process management. So those are the 3 things. So Katie, take it away.
Okay. So building your authentic, go back.
Sorry about that.
There you go. So first we're going to talk about building your authentic brand. And remember that, we've talked all about the tools, right? That you're going to be potentially using, or you might only be using email. If that's all you've got and that's all you're comfortable with, it's okay. It's not that you have to be doing all of these things, but in a world that is so technology driven, the more you get comfortable with, taking on one new thing and adding that to your mix, maybe do that for a year and then see if you want to add more. But it comes in a couple different ways. The first is just pure communication and then promotion. But all of this is about building trust with an audience. You've got your prospect audience and your client audience. And then you've got all the people that they talk to that aren't even prospects yet, who, when a family has a good experience with you, that's the word of mouth, spreading of the love, right? So on the marketing front, you've got social media is a huge opportunity. Anything from static graphics to videos to live, live sessions that you can do, and obviously email. Another, as much as we're all inundated, I am inundated with email every day, but I still use it a lot to communicate with my families. It's what I rely on. In terms of education, using blogs, regular blog articles or vlogs, video-based blogging, newsletters that you can use to communicate again with potential prospects and especially your families on the regular things that go out, that like just even collecting newsworthy articles every month to say, okay, these are some of the hot topics you should be concerned with this month. Here's an article that discusses, financial aid, or here's an article that discusses whatever. I know that from conferences I've been to, there are some of the counselors out there that actually do pre-written newsletters for you to be able to like brand with your brand and then send out to your family. So you don't even have to mess with that. They do it for you. Obviously doing presentations is an important thing. I present at many of our local high schools. I partner, either through their PTSAs, through their foundations, or through their athletic departments. I get on a stage as much as, that hasn't happened so much lately, but I've been invited to lots of Zoom calls, right? When they couldn't do it in person, they put it on Zoom. So getting out there and getting your face in the community so that people know that you exist is important. Being a part of panel discussions. I'm a member of a group of counselors. One person is a financial aid expert. One's just college admissions. Another person is test prep. And then I represent athletics. And we kind of, we have the rounds, we work around and do lots of different things together as a panel, play off of each other. And so that's a really great way to help build your brand and visibility about the industry as a whole. And like I said, building those relationships that are trustworthy and both with, through our networking organizations and word of mouth. You have to think through how big is your business now and how big do you want it to be? Because like I said, if you're a small operation and you don't need the social media piece and you're happy just sending emails out or having a website or whatever, that's fine. You don't need to do all of this, but you have to recognize your technical skills can either be helpful or they might feel like a barrier. I think that's where Cyndy, helping out on the technical side and getting, using some easy to use software can really help, and then keeping your growth in mind. Okay, let's go now into this phase of sort of prospect management. And this is, I wrote this slide with this is how I like to work. This is not how everybody works for certain, but it is, this is how I tend to do things because I'm really trying to funnel people into lead forms that help make the user do the work to make my prospect family do the work to input their information. So I don't have to sit there and have written it down on a piece of paper and then I'm inputting in a database. That's a giant waste of my time. So when I generate leads, people come to me through text message, email, phone calls, or my web form. I really believe that, and this is where my Insightly product comes in really handy for me. And that's where I just work with athletes. I send my families to a web page that says, fill out two things, an information request form and a Zoom booking link. And I kind of, I funnel them into this thing so that when I get on that call, I just pull up my Zoom form and I have got everything I need to know about this kid, and I didn't have to do a single thing to do it, right? I offer a 30-minute free phone call as an initial, I figure I don't want to actually talk to people on the phone. I would rather talk to them on a Zoom call. So I kind of force them into that Zoom situation. That might not work for everybody, but I like having a face-to-face interaction. I feel like I can represent myself much better on a Zoom call, and especially get to meet the family. So I learn about the prospects. I present my services. I try to keep those to 30 minutes. I try not to go over as much as I can. And then finally, I will send my follow-up to that Zoom call is a contract. This is where Cyndy, the Panda Docs and some of these other, I still have not been able to fully integrate online e-signature. Some if the family that I'm sending them to is tech savvy, then they do it, very easily. If they're not, I still get people printing out the document, hand filling it in, taking a picture of it and sending it back to me in pieces. So there's some improvement that could happen there. So I need to get the system down so that it works. It would be great if that just auto-populated in my database. But again, that's a Zapier thing that I just need to work through. So, okay, you can go to the next slide. So once the family signs my contract and tells me I would like to work with you, then I have a whole lot of, in my world, I have a whole lot of things to set up on my side. I convert the person in my database from a prospect to a client. I set up a Google Drive folder, and I have intentionally labeled my Google Drive folders with the class and the name of the student. And if I'm partnering with an IEC, I put the IEC's name in there as well in the name of the folder, so that no matter what system I'm using, I can always look that student up in my Google Drive search functionality. It makes my life much easier. I have to go into my online accounting, into QuickBooks Online, and set up their account there. And again, I've gotten to the place now where I put in the parent's first name, last name, and email address, and that's it. Just enough to be able to send them an email and auto-populate the automatic message that goes to them to be able to send off my billing. And then, of course, I am still working on refining my processes with my Zoom booking. That form it works, but it's not as efficient as it should be. So I'm still really working on how to refine that. I do an initial intake meeting, and then we, again, talk through a big, long document. I prefer to do this on Zoom, but I will do it in person if that's possible. And I take as many notes as I can in my software. I do not want to do handwritten notes here. I really, really need to document as much as I can, because my office ends up in a disaster zone if I start using paper again. I finally got away from that, and I never want to go back.
Yep,
okay.
I agree. Totally agree. The other thing I would add to that, and one thing in terms of taking notes that I've started using is, and I know there are several other systems, but Otter.ai, because it actually gives you a transcript and it actually will share it with whoever you're meeting with. So you can go back in and edit and stuff. But I would just take notes. I actually do them in the appointment itself. So at the end of the appointment, I just hit send. It goes to the parent, goes to the student, goes to me. I'm done. There's no follow-up. If you're spending 30 or 45 minutes following up, crafting an email to those parents and such, you should be charging for that, because that is a big time suck on your part. So think of those kinds of things that you can use, and you can use your technology to help alleviate that and streamline that. Okay,
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
So then when it comes to the actual counseling process management part, where you're now working with your client and you're going through all the various stages of, depending on how old that client is. I've got some kids who are class of 2023, or they're rising seniors, and all of a sudden they're in panic mode. And I have to get through all of these phases in like no time at all. With other kids where I can take my time, you want to make sure you've gathered all your inputs, right? However it is that you do your student background, If you're using a software package that allows you to document all the various, likes and dislikes of a student when you're, I've got friends who use, I think is it Coursera or Coursava? But no, the cards. Coursava, yeah, cards. Coursava. Right. Some people use those. I just like to document it in a Google Doc. I give them the access to that document. They fill it out, and then we talk through it as part of our intake meeting. Surveys were part of Guided Path, but the surveys now that are starting in My Learning, and I would assume other products have similar type of ways of taking in information. And those could be career surveys, those could be personality surveys, or other types. Like with me with athletic recruiting. Again, I try to do everything in a Google Doc. It's just easier for me that way. Collecting the transcript, typically a PDF file, but making sure that's saved in a place that's easy to get to. Test scores, AP scores, SAT, ACT, or whatever other scores you might, need. I mentioned the major and career assessments, financial assessments. If families are, if the software that you're using allows them to do kind of an EFC calculator or some sort of financial assessment in the software, great. Many of my families are still going out to do FAFSA Forecaster or, other types of financial tools. So you just have to have a place to store all that information. And so this all becomes like that input, right? So you have to kind of think about how you want to store that information, what's easiest for you. The second piece is now the research. When you're starting to generate a college list, you've got to have a way to do college search. Now, maybe the search, or maybe this college counseling package you're using has the search tools built into it, or maybe it doesn't. And so you're going out to a third party, to help to do various college search and validation on that search. I've got, a friend who will go and, use College Kickstart or other, College Raptor. I think I've used that before to make sure that when you say something as a reach, a target, or a backup, that you've got validation from another system that kind of agrees with, yes, given the student's criteria, right? So think about how many of those. You don't need to use 10 tools, but having, at least especially when you're starting out and you're maybe a little bit unsure about what to call a reach, a target, and a backup or a safety. There are tools out there that do that. You want to be able to prioritize and assign when you get into the, that admissions expectation and do it accurately. So that's all part of that research. And then helping the kids dive in deep on, okay, how do you go look at a school's website and dig through their, and having a way to track that the student actually did it. It's one thing to tell them to do it in a to-do list. It's another thing to actually say, yes, in fact, I went and signed up for their email information and I'm following them on social media. And I did the homework on the majors that they offer and read about, the classes I would have to take and that kind of thing, right? So having a system that allows you to really maximize that research. And then on the application management side, I think that for those of us who are dealing with our rising seniors, right now, having a really good tool that manages that process well. Some time I have been kind of, because I like to work a certain way, I would extract information from various places and throw it in a spreadsheet and manage through the spreadsheet. Ideally, I would really like to do this in one tool with this visible so the parents can log in and the parents can see what's the plan. I get questions all the time. Where's my child in this process? I'm like, well, haven't you logged in? Don't you know? So these are all, you can see that there's a whole lot of work to do on the application management or application management side to when they're seniors and logging that information, making it visible and easy to read and easy to follow and easy to know when their deadlines are that are just important. And so all of this really gets down to a question of how do you like to work? This gets back to Cyndy, the fact that when you set a next appointment with a family and you want to write your meeting notes, do you do that? Are you writing your notes as you're having the meeting and then you set the next meeting date and hit send and then all of a sudden your meeting is booked, they've received the notes, it's all happening in one. Are you having to use an outside booking tool? Does it automatically send reminders 2 days before the next meeting? all of that. And then the payment, just I'm constantly having to look back in my accounting every single time I meet with someone. Did I send them the invoice? Have they paid? You know, I'm in a time of the year where I need to double check to make sure everybody has paid for their next year, right, before I meet with them. So the more of this that is built into the system, or at least has connection points so that you can easily get from your college counseling software into that links maybe into your QuickBooks account and has some of those automatic recognition systems, it would, you know, I haven't seen as much of that as I would like to. So that's kind of a part of my wish list, is that working those integrations a little better. Cyndy, do you have anything to add about this from this perspective?
I think that you've covered it pretty well. I mean, this is pretty comprehensive, and, you know, and it's all things that we all do as we work with our students, and we all have a different approach. But again, the whole, you know, idea is, how can you streamline this? How can you maximize what you do and how you do it? So I think you covered it really well.
Okay.
All right. So let's go. So this is an iterative process. And as we've been talking about this as from the very beginning, you know, not every software is going to meet your needs 100%. So the goal and the purpose is to find that balance, as Katie's talked about, between the way you want to work and the way the software forces you to work. And sometimes we think that it doesn't do certain things. And this is why you want to go to support. You want to send questions, you know, and this is the next thing. Don't be afraid to make feature requests. You know, I need things, and things change. You know what, maybe we didn't need it 2 years ago, and now because of COVID, we need something else. So, you know, you are the user. So sharing what's going to work for you and asking those questions, you may find, oh yes, you can do that. It's like, I tell people all the time, it's like Word or Excel. None of us use all the tools and resources in a product, and you're most likely not going to use everything available in any of your technology products. That's why you have to know what is most important to you and the way you work, as you said. So, you know, and then if they don't meet your needs, and I know people who have gone out, myself included, and many other entrepreneurs have gone out and created their own simple solution, and I applaud that too. So in terms of the circle, document your business processes. This is all part of scaling your business too. This is going to help you in many different ways. Evaluate software's ability to meet your needs. Narrow your choices and consider a trial period. This is all part of these 11 tips that I'm going to share with you that I have in a document. Find workarounds for things that don't work the way you want them to work. You're a great example of I'm talking about that. And then continue evaluating your choices. And as we saw in the poll today, you know, many of us are in that situation. So it's an ongoing process. It's all part. If we all stay static as professionals, either as business or as educators, then you're going to become obsolete. So you have to continue looking and evaluating. And many of us, and I have a very good friend who, I don't know if she's on the call today or not, I know she hates change. She absolutely detests change, but she's very versatile, and she's very welcome, you know, very open to embracing it and such, but she knows that's not her strength. So she's working on that. So I'm going to, I have a whole sheet to send to you, and I'll explain how you get this. And I'm going to share it with you. It looks a little different than this, but basically we have a feature comparison checklist that you can use in this process. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, we have actual users of platforms. I've been doing user stories with different users of different systems, and I'll continue doing this. This is kind of the role that I'm going to be playing as your technology expert, and start looking at calendaring system and billing systems and all those things, that those lists that we have in the poll, you know, what is out there, and having people share things like Locker and Loom and things. So, But for this, I've asked actual users of the platform, and the questions I asked them are, what are the 5 things do you like the most about what this software does? And what is one thing that you wish it did? And so that gave them an opportunity to share, and they're about 25 to 35 minutes. And also, as I mentioned, there will be available coupons to sign up for trials. I have one in place already and working on several others, but I want to be forthright and straightforward and that I am being compensated for this. That means I get, I'm compensated for the links you use, but this is my way of being able to continue bringing Friday forums for free, being able to provide more professional development content, and then just be, provide the service as a professional consultant and coach. So use those coupons. If you don't have them, ask me about them, and there'll be more coming in the future. And this is what I'm going to be offering, is some technology support or tutoring for you. And this webinar and all of this came about because I got a call from this friend, a very good friend. She's like, I don't know what to do. I need your help. And I realized if she needs my help, then other people might too. So that's why I decided to call Katie and said, Katie, we need to do this. And so here we are. So thank you. But my goal is here to help you use any technology tool. If I don't know it, I'm going to find the source. Fortunately, I've been in this area and industry long enough. I can find somebody who can help you. My goal, as I mentioned at the very beginning, is support all platforms in all different ways. And I also want to contribute to all platforms. So you're probably going to see me doing blogs and other articles and things like that too, because my goal now, I'm very excited to be able to just be that support for everybody. So I have some other resources and tools coming up. Gina Lester and I have partnered together, and we're going to start a roundtable the end of August. It's setting up for success in application season. The whole goal is to help you, give you an accountability partner and help you have work-life balance in this season. I'm also doing a workshop on creating lead magnets. We did this as part of our Scaling Your Business workshop in June, or Friday Forum in June. So I have 2 dates. So I will send you information on that. So be looking for an email. And as I mentioned, technology support, and then continuing to do individual coaching. So those are some of the things now I am now your college counselor's coach. It's like there's nobody else that has taken that name. And so just like the college essay guy, when Ethan Sawyer, he started saying nobody else says they're the college essay guy. It's like nobody else is saying they're the college counselor's coach. So that is mine. Here is my contact information and Katie's. I want to show you I'm going to stop the PowerPoint. Leanne, if you can set those in the chat. I'm going to show you the article and the checklist and what you need to do is just go to my website, and there's a link there. You can request the article and the checklist. So while I switch gears here, Katie, what would you add to this?
Well, I can just say that Cyndy has, over the years, you have been you're my go-to. Well, I have a couple people, but you're always at the top of my list of when I have questions about anything. Cyndy has been an amazing resource. And for a while, we had even worked together as she coached me through even the process of deciding what to do next. Did I want to continue doing what I'm doing, or did I want to shift into something else? And, just having that sort of level of evaluation on your own business and your own career path forward is a great exercise. So Cyndy's great at asking questions. And she sees the work-life balance thing. She sees right through me on that one. So
No, thank you, Katie. It's interesting because when I did the Youth Science survey, and many of us use that, that's another thing I didn't even put on here, but any kinds of assessments, surveys, student reflection, I think is so valuable. And Steve and I have often talked about that. But when I did that for myself, the number one career that came up for me was broadcast journalist. I have no idea. It was not something I would ever thought of when I was 18, but yes, I love asking questions. So here's my website, it's cindymcdonald.com. And remember, my name is spelled a little differently. It's Cyndy. And when you come to the website, you have a button here that says request now. And it has the articles for 11 steps for choosing technology platform. It's the steps we talked about today, but in much more detail, and a college software checklist. So you can request that. It also will give you, when you click on this, put the information in, and there's links to each one of the user stories here. These are also on my YouTube channel. They're, I think they're under a technology playlist. So these are all users. So these are actual people who use the products, and then we'll be bringing more in as well as I'm be able to contact. So if you're using one of these other products and I haven't done a user story, please contact me and I will be more than happy to talk to you and schedule something. I know I'm working on one with College Age Pro just as soon as I can. When you request the article, let me find this is, here, bring the article over here. And I know we're going a little bit over time. This is the article that you will receive, and it just opens things up considerably and gives you a lot more information. Let me make this bigger. No, that's not it. Let's see. Oh, down here. There we go. So this is, and when I talk about the 11 steps, it's going to walk you through what we've been covering today. Identify your needs, prioritize, what are your must-have, nice to have, don't care, explore the market, vet the providers, ask for a show and tell, do demonstrations, and don't be afraid to do them all together. Set aside time. I'm going to do this, this 2-week period, and do several demonstrations all together. That way it gives you more opportunity to share and compare. The same thing when you give it a spin, when you do a trial, that you can, many companies will give you a free trial period or money back, and do several together, because then you're able to experience, well, how do I add a new student, or how do I do these different things? So and as you do these, please check with me and see if there are any coupon codes, because I'm very proud to already be an affiliate with College Planner Pro, and we already have a coupon code set up. So I appreciate that and thank College Planner Pro for that. And working on several others. I've been in communication with several other companies on that. So we'll be getting agreements up, affiliate agreements up soon. But then you can come to me and you can ask me questions, send me emails. So but use this to save money. It'll give, we'll give coupon or discounts to you as a listener to my shows. Make sure you do a usability test, and I've got a whole form in this checklist for you. Set a task, set 5 to 10 tasks, and then see how you do it with every single platform that you're comparing. When you decide to compare platforms, don't try to do everything. Pick no more than 5. 3 is better. You should, it's just like the kids doing their colleges. They are going to look at 26 colleges and narrow it down to 10 or 12 or 15, same kind of thing. Don't try and compare everything. When you get down to this show and tell and give it a spin, have your choices down to 3 to 5. And that makes it much easier. Otherwise, you're going to end up with decision paralysis. Doing a usability test identify those 5 to 10 tasks. Those might be on your must-have. What's easiest? Which one has the information? Like Katie said, she has specific information for athletics. Nobody has everything that she needs, so she has to find some workarounds. Create a rubric so you can create a way to assess what you're finding. Rather than just notes. Give it a scale. Maybe an ABC or scale 1 to 5 or 1 to 10, something that works for you. But then you can give out of those 10 tasks, you can look at your 4 or 5 products and say, okay, this one got a 3, 5, 6, 8. So it gives you a way to analyze and, quantify it a little bit, and then go back, review what you've learned. And when you've done all this and laid this groundwork, this is going to save you time. And in the end, you're going to, one product is going to stand out, and the winner is, so that's going to be the product that's going to meet your needs and that you're excited about to get started. Then the other thing I will say is make sure you include time to do the onboarding. Every single one of the companies that offers tools will help you to get started. They want you to get started easy. They are going to have an onboarding process. You can ask them questions about this. They're going to send you, emails, have you do videos. They're going to have help documents, everything, tutorials, everything to help you to be able to be successful as you get started. So don't hesitate to start a chat. Many of them have chat boxes on their websites now. Ask questions. Don't be afraid to email support. This is part of what's going to make this much more a successful adoption for you. And as I said, companies want to support you in that. And then your 11th step, and if anybody watches Stranger Things, this is kind of like I wanted to do 11 steps just in honor of the main character in Stranger Things. So we've got celebrate. So it's time to celebrate. You are part of a new community. You can see it's exciting to see just in the chat all the community type of comments and responses. So when you adopt a technology, you're part of that new community and a new relationship. So that is exciting. So don't hesitate to take advantage of that. And then, as I said, these are all the user stories are on my channel. So this is the article that I have that you can request through my website. And then let me show you the spreadsheet. So Katie, while I'm pulling that up, any thoughts or comments?
No, I think, whether you are a brand new IEC and you're just coming out of a college counseling certificate program, or whether you've been doing this for years and are kind of having to rethink, I think following that process and giving yourself the freedom, sometimes it's hard to break habits, right? If you haven't ever established the habits in the first place, I think it feels like a kid in the candy store and there's just so much to think about, right? But if you're someone who's been doing this for many years and you're having to kind of break down what's working and what's not working and how can you fix that, it can be a real challenge. I have certainly been in that boat. And I feel like over the 10 years or so I've been doing this, I've had at least 3 periods of time where I've had to rethink again, sit down, tear it all apart. I feel like the engineer who has to break it apart and put it back together again to kind of make it, be efficient. So yeah, following those steps, I think are a methodical way to go about this.
Yeah. And then it takes this overwhelming process and turns it into something that, takes the elephant and gives us a way to bite the elephant, right?
Yeah.
So at this time, I would like to have all the representatives for any software that we have on here. I know I've seen Ricky, I've seen Margaret, I've seen Lisa. I think Valerie's on here, Nikki's on here. Go ahead and put your emails in there and the company you're associated with in the chat so that everybody can have that. I also saw somebody asked about the chat. Will it be available? Yes, I'll make a copy of it available in the show notes and on the blog on my website. The other thing is if you have questions about specific products, things like that, go ahead and you can put them in the question and answer, or you can, and we'll collate and we'll send them to everybody, or you can send them directly to, the different companies. So that's, we want to facilitate that conversation as much as we can. And I see Ricky's got information about the 360 planner and the discount there. So thanks for putting that up. So we had talked about it and I don't have everything set up quite yet. So this is the checklist, and it takes that information from that article and gives you a practical way to do this. I'm working on doing this interactive. I am keeping this as a as an Excel document so that you can type in it, because I know for me, I'd much rather type than write, but some people still prefer writing. So whichever way, when you get this, it's going to be an Excel document. It gives you a chance, meet with your team, go work together, go through these. I organized the 11 steps into stages. So the first stage is, what do you want help with? What are those top 5 things you need? It gives you a place to put in your priorities. Must have, nice have, don't care. Exploring the market, listing, what are your choices going to be that you're going to explore? Setting up a demo. So this is number 4, and number 5, ask for a show and tell. That's your demo. Put notes. Number 6, give it a spin. That's the trial. So that's that second or that third stage, is going through this process. And then, as I mentioned, there are coupons if you start and do some new accounts. Please check with me and use these coupon codes. And then here's conduct a usability test. Don't overwhelm yourself. I would probably do 5 things, maybe 6, but no more than 10. And there's actually, on this document, I have 3 sheets. So the checklist is first, the user, all features is second, and then usability evaluation is third. And that's where this is. So you can take this, put your 10 tasks in, put your different software here and say, how did this work adding a new student? How did this work adding a parent? How did this work setting up the billing? Whatever your tasks are, and then you can share that comparison. So the checklist is set up with this 3 pages and gives you an opportunity to follow these steps using this checklist. Here's a list, and it's called All Features, but you can see it has a lot of different pages. Again, put in your, let me move this here. I'll move all the way to the top. Remember, you guys are going to get this as a spreadsheet, so you can actually interact with it. But you put your priorities, your must have, your nice have, you don't care. Start with those. And then you're going to look at, every time I hit the button, it changes it. What are your needs? Identify, your size. If you have 6 students or 10 students like me, you're different than somebody who has 25, 50, or 50 students. So the number of students in your class each year, what is your budget? And then how many people will be using your account? Is it just you? Is it you and an admin? You have to account for that. And then you can go through and look at, well, what's the cost? How many students? Just some summary type of things, and then go through the account administration. And I put in as many things as I could, and I went through all the websites and tried to bring in as many different things that I heard mentioned. I'm sure I didn't get everything. So if there's something else that you see or know, or things that, you want a product to do, or that a product does, there's a section at the end, but I just divide them up into little categories. And then if there's something I missed, just put it at the bottom. But that's why I created it as a spreadsheet, because then you can add and all. So my goal and hope is that this, giving you the spreadsheet, will give you a structure and something you can use as you work through this. So so I'm going to stop sharing, and this took way longer than I ever thought it would, Katie. But let's just wrap up and see if anybody has any questions, or what are your concluding thoughts?
Yeah, just have an open mind. There are, I think, software packages have improved. I've been using the same sort of tools for a long time, and I haven't picked my head up to look around, in the last year or so. So, it's time to do that. I think that there's a lot of technology improvement in, like Zapier, for example, which can can open the door to some of these integrations that, if you haven't ever been able to do things, well, today you might actually be able to do them. It's been in the back of your brain, like, gosh, I wish these two things could actually talk to each other. Well, now's the time to explore that. So, please don't be afraid to ask questions. There's no dumb questions in this, and we are all here to help you and support you.
Yeah, thank you. And I want to just quickly mention too, because I've mentioned College Aid Pro, but I want to mention College Kickstart. I know you mentioned it, but these are tools that can help support us in what we do. And, the College Kickstart, I'm glad to see Mark is here, and he put in email as well, because it does help you look at your lists and are they balanced, and it gives you a grade. And I do have a user story for College Kickstart. So that's part of it. I have one for College Planner Pro, 360 Planner, Counsel More, and College Kickstart. So we'll be adding more user stories to that, but please check those out and listen to people who really use them, and that will help you too. Come and join me. No Friday Forum tomorrow. This kind of took its place, but we're gonna, as I said, Friday Forums in August, or we're gonna do one the next 3 weeks. Next week, Eric Endlich's going to join me, and he's going to talk about neurodiversity and mental health in college. And then we're going to talk about the Why essay. Susan Kapow is from the WOW Writing Workshop is going to join me. Lisa Marker Robbins is going to do a session on clarity in careers. So those all registrations are now on my website. So you can go to the website, watch for emails, and thank you for all that you do. And thank you for your time today and this afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you happen to be located. Katie, thank you very much. Leanne, thank you very much. You're our person in the back that just keeps us all sane. So thank you so much.